Turkey, Philippines and Indonesia. Women's tennis breaks the mold. Melbourne. The Australian Open is showing the world that the most popular player can come from the Philippines, and that countries like Indonesia, Thailand, or Turkey can also produce new stars on the tour. There are countries that are tennis countries, and we're not one of them. So I think it's a really good thing because it means there are more players and more surprises. I saw Alex, Ila, play a few days ago and the crowd was going crazy too, said Turkey's Zeynep Sönmez to reporters. The 23-year-old has become the first Turkish woman in history to reach the third round of the Australian Open. Thanks to her impressive run in Melbourne, where she came through qualifying, she will break into the top 100 of the WTA rankings for the first time. The crowd from a country that has never had a player ranked inside the world's top 50 made its presence felt at the first Grand Slam of the year every time Zeynep Sönmez stepped on court. Her compatriots filled the stands with Turkish flags and constant chants. Meanwhile, Filipino fans caused chaos around Court 6, trying to catch a glimpse of Alexandra Ila in her first-round match. Huge lines, people sitting on the stairs, and large groups watching from the giant screens outside Melbourne Park. Ila hasn't yet won a WTA title, but she's already a star. Fans in her homeland call her the Filipina princess. The 20-year-old, who honed her game at the Rafa Nadal Academy, is the only professional tennis player representing a nation of over 115 million people. Her popularity is evident both at tournaments and across social media. If you look at the views on her press conferences, you realize she's massive. She has a huge following from the Philippines. It's incredible, and it's something tournaments should pay attention to, said former tennis player Andy Roddick on his Served podcast. The only press conference Ila gave in Melbourne has 58,000 views, the second most watched of the tournament so far, behind only Novak Djokovic's pre-tournament media session. That's more than Roger Federer's, 50,000, and almost twice as many as those of Sinner, Sabalenka and Alcaraz. Joining the cases of Ila and Sönmez is Janice Tien, 23, who became the first Indonesian woman to win a match at the Australian Open since 1998. This trio of players, all under 24, represents the rise of a new era. Tennis is no longer dominated exclusively by the sport's traditional regions. Nations with less tennis history and infrastructure are now part of the conversation. The Australian Open main draw this year also featured two players from another Southeast Asian nation. Thailand's Maninkaya Sawanki and Lanlana Terarudi, aged 23 and 21 respectively. In 2019, Naomi Osaka became the first player from outside the US, Europe, or Australia to reach world number 1. A paradigm shift that, in a tour still led by Sabalenka, Swiatek, and Goff, seems destined to become the norm. It's only a matter of time before the traditional mold keeps breaking. Turkey, Philippines, and Indonesia. Women's tennis breaks the mold in the world of sports. Tennis has long been dominated by a handful of countries that have become synonymous with grand slams, power serves, and household names. The United States, Russia, Spain, and Australia often dominate headlines, while smaller or emerging tennis nations remain peripheral in global discussions. Yet, in recent years, countries such as Turkey, the Philippines, and Indonesia have quietly been nurturing a new generation of female tennis players who are not only challenging the traditional tennis hierarchy but also breaking cultural and societal molds along the way. These women are doing more than competing on the court. They are reshaping perceptions about gender, sports, and national identity in their respective countries. Breaking cultural barriers in Turkey, women's tennis has historically received little attention. Sports culture in the country has been largely male-dominated, with football and wrestling drawing the lion's share of resources and public attention. Female athletes often struggle for recognition, sponsorship, and support. Despite these challenges, players like Kagla Bayukake, Turkey's first woman to break into the WTA Top 100, have become symbols of persistence and change. Bayukake's success is significant not only for her personal achievements but also for what she represents. A cultural shift where young Turkish girls can aspire to athletic careers in sports that were once considered niche or unattainable. The rise of Turkish women's tennis is about more than rankings. It is a statement that gender norms are evolving. Tennis, with its individualistic nature and global visibility, has become a platform for women to claim space in public discourse. The growth of tennis academies in Istanbul and Ankara, along with international partnerships, has created pathways for young athletes, ensuring that talent is recognized irrespective of gender. These women are not just competing, they are challenging entrenched societal ideas about what women can achieve in Turkey. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, female tennis players have faced a different set of obstacles. Sports infrastructure remains underdeveloped, and financial support for athletes is limited. Yet, the country has produced remarkable players who have carved out spaces on international courts despite these challenges. Marie-Chris Gens, for instance, has become a symbol of resilience in Filipino tennis, representing the country in multiple Fed Cup matches. Beyond the game, these players navigate social expectations in a society that often values traditional female roles over professional sporting careers. Each victory, each match played on foreign soil, becomes a subtle act of defiance against societal limitations, demonstrating that talent can flourish even in environments where resources are scarce. In Indonesia, the story takes on another layer of complexity. The country has a rich sporting tradition, particularly in badminton and weightlifting, where women have often excelled. Tennis, however, has historically been less prominent, and female players have struggled to gain visibility. Yet, figures like Yeuk Basuki, Indonesia's most successful female tennis player, have paved the way for future generations. Basuki, who reached the top 20 in the WTA rankings in the 1990s, demonstrated that Indonesian women could compete at the highest level. Her career inspired young athletes and challenged the assumption that tennis success was only attainable in wealthier nations with more established sports infrastructures, global competitiveness, and representation. What is striking about Turkey, the Philippines, and Indonesia is that their female tennis players are not merely participating, they are excelling on international stages, often under challenging conditions. These athletes often train abroad, facing cultural and financial hurdles, yet manage to represent their countries with pride. Their visibility on international circuits is transforming the perception of tennis from an elite Western sport into a truly global one. Turkey's Kagla Bayukake and the emerging stars from Istanbul's tennis academies demonstrate that investment in women's sports can yield competitive results. Similarly, in the Philippines, players continue to compete in regional tournaments such as the Southeast Asian Games, where they frequently face countries with stronger sporting